3 months pregnant. An apocalyptic barrage appeared before my eyes. The zombie virus will break out in 30 days. Please immediately sell off your assets and stockpile supplies. My husband said he saw it, too. Wei, quickly sell your shares. Let's build an underground bunker. I was about to sign, but a childish voice came from my belly. Mom, don't believe him. He's lying to you. My fingers paused, and I slowly smiled as I looked at Pei Jing's affectionate face. Honey, since we're going all in, why not mortgage your company? 2. In the apocalypse, money is just worthless paper. Don't you think? I stare at the ceiling. Besides the pure white lime, a bloody countdown floats before my eyes. 29 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes. Countdown to the zombie virus outbreak. The doctor applied the coupling gel to my belly. Ms. Song, the baby is developing very well. I didn't say anything because beneath the countdown, another line of comments popped up. The female lead quickly sells off her belongings. The apocalypse is coming. I close my eyes. That line of text actually pierced through my eyelids and engraved itself directly onto my retina. Wei, what's wrong with you? Pei Jing pushed the door open and entered. The anxiety in his eyes was almost spilling over. Doctor, is she okay? The doctor smiled and said, it's a normal reaction. Ms. Song might be a bit nervous. Pei Jing held my hand, his palm sweating. Wei, I saw it, the end of the world. His voice was very low, tinged with lingering fear. You saw it, too. I opened my eyes. Pei Jing nodded heavily. There's a red number in my vision, and it keeps flickering. He pointed to his own eyes. It says the end is coming. My heart sank to the bottom. If it were an illusion, how could two people see it at the same time? Don't let him fool you. A childish voice rang out in my mind. What a performance. It's a shame they didn't win an Oscar. My whole body stiffened. Who's speaking? I'm right inside your belly. Mom, you haven't even given me a name yet. In my past life, you called me Dog Egg, even though I wasn't born yet. You'll have to give me a new name in this life. Okay, I'm a soft, sweet little cake, not a dog egg. Pei Jing stared at me in a daze, holding me even tighter. Wei, don't be afraid. I'm here. I looked down at my stomach. A 3-month-old embryo. It can talk. Am I really hallucinating? Pei Jing's voice rang out from above. Wei, we need to get back to the company as soon as possible and deal with your shares. Since the apocalypse is coming, money will be worthless. We need to build a shelter. His reasoning was flawless. But I didn't nod in agreement because the bullet comments in front of me changed. Emergency alert. An earthquake will occur in this city in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8. My heart began to race. This is an earthquake. Even if Pei Jing had eyes and ears everywhere, he couldn't control the movement of the Earth's crust. Without time to react, my husband and I hid, together under the table. 3, 2, 1, boom. The entire building shook violently. Instruments scraped against the floor with a piercing screech. Dust from the ceiling fell in rustling showers. Pei Jing threw himself over me like a madman, using his body to shield me from any falling debris. Wei, watch out. A fallen picture frame struck his forehead, and blood trickled down from his temple. In that moment, his eyes were filled with terror. The fear of death is real. The earthquake lasted a full 30 seconds. I collapsed in Pei Jing's arms, gasping for air. I looked at Pei Jing, whose head was covered in blood, as he anxiously checked my body. Are you hurt? Does your stomach hurt? If this was acting, why would he risk his life to block it? On the way home, traffic was completely paralyzed. The streets were filled with panicked crowds. Pei Jing got out of the car to buy water, and a convenience store by the roadside was being looted by the crowd. He struggled to squeeze in, then stumbled back out, clutching 2 bottles of water tightly in his hands. Wei, have a drink quickly. He handed me the water, but his own lips were parched from thirst. I took the water, my fingertips brushing against his hand. He was trembling. This kind of physiological tremor cannot be faked. Mom, there's medicine in this water. He added a strong sedative to it, just to make you drowsy and trick you into signing. I looked down at the bottle of mineral water in my hand. The cap's tampering was indeed a bit loose. My heart sank halfway, just as he was about to put down the water bottle. Pei Jing took another one and took a big gulp. This water is really expensive. The boss took advantage of the situation, selling a bottle for 50. He wiped his mouth and smiled self-deprecatingly. But it's okay, as long as you and the child are fine. No amount of money is too much. He drank in large gulps. If it was medicine, why did he drink it himself? I stared at him, my mind a tangled mess. What the hell? Why did he drink it himself? Her daughter's voice was filled with frustration. This isn't right. Did I mix it up? Mom, wait, let me sense it again. The bullet comments accurately predicted the earthquake. And this earthquake was hard for Pei Jing to fake. The inner voice said it was all fake. But Pei Jing risked his life to protect me and drank water that might have been poisoned. Who is the real liar? Wei, check your phone. Pei Jing handed me his phone. On the screen were the headlines from various platforms. Unexplained riots have broken out in multiple locations around the world, suspected to be caused by a new type of virus. Seismologists, the frequency of this earthquake is abnormal, possibly a precursor to a large-scale disaster. My heart skipped a beat. It's true. I just contacted Lin Man. She is one of the world's top underground engineering designers. She said that the power and internet haven't been cut off yet. And this is our last window of opportunity. Wei, the 30% of shares under your name must be converted into cash immediately. He gripped my shoulders. His eyes are more serious than I had ever seen them. If you don't sell, those shares will be worth less than toilet paper after the zombie outbreak. I looked at him. There was a faint hint of blue under Pei Jing's eyes. He seemed genuinely exhausted. Okay, I nodded. The voice in my heart sounded again. Mom, you've lost your mind. That's the emergency money Grandpa left you. My daughter's voice was screaming wildly in my head. I replied to her in my heart. Then tell me, why was the earthquake real just now? A moment of silence in my mind. After a long while, the childish, lisping voice finally spoke up, sounding aggrieved. Humph, believe it or not. Love struck Mom. The car stopped at the largest supermarket in the city center. Pei Jing unbuckled his seatbelt and said urgently, Quick, we don't have time. He rushed into the supermarket, grabbed the biggest shopping cart, and started sweeping items into it. Boxes upon boxes of compressed biscuits, canned food, and bottled water were being discarded. I followed behind him, my mind still buzzing. Sir, did you also see that prophecy? A man who was also frantically stockpiling goods leaned in and asked Pei Jing. Pei Jing nodded solemnly. You saw it, too. Yeah, it's terrifying. I'm stocking up on food right away, the man said, grabbing 2 more boxes of instant noodles and tossing them into his car. Several people around seemed to be doing the same thing. A sense of panic was spreading. Mom, don't believe it. They're all actors. Paid $300 a day. I fell into deep thought. My 18-year-old husband had his intestines cut out by a thug while trying to save me. The nurse asked him if it hurt, but he said it was worth it to have a different wife. Will the 28-year-old really lie to me? Is he even willing to give up the child? I looked at my husband, who was carefully choosing baby formula, and touched my belly. Then tell me, what's really going on? The inner voice disappeared again when I got home. My husband cooked for me himself, coaxing me to eat more so I'd have the strength to fight off zombies. I was startled awake in the middle of the night. Pei Jing hadn't gone to sleep. He was sitting on the carpet by the bed, a pile of documents spread out before him, his eyes red-rimmed. The dim light of the desk lamp cast shadows across his handsome face. Wei, you're awake. His voice was hoarse. What's wrong? I sat up. He picked up a document and handed it to me, the red veins in his eyes even more pronounced. I've been investigating all night. You hold 30% of the shares in the song group under your name. This is what your mother left for you. We can pawn it for about 300 million. 300 million. He took my hand. With this money, we can build the most fortified underground bunker in the world. Not just us, but Mom and Dad and the baby in your belly. Our whole family can survive. In the shadow of the apocalypse, even the greatest wealth seems powerless. I opened the document. It was a share transfer agreement. As soon as I sign, all the shares under my name will be transferred to Pei Jing for free. Then, as the holder, he will go to the bank to handle the mortgage. I lifted my head and looked directly into Pei Jing's eyes. Honey, why is the payee on this agreement your personal account? Wei, the situation is urgent. Using the company account involves too much red tape, and the approval process would take forever. If we use my personal account, the money can be transferred the fastest, and it'll be easier for me to coordinate everything. In the face of the apocalypse, time is life. Do you understand? His explanation was reasonable and flawless if it weren't for the reminder from my unborn child's voice. I might have actually signed it, but I kept my guard up and didn't sign immediately. The next day, at 3 in the afternoon, Pei Jing and I drove to his parents' house to discuss the matter with them. As the car passed by the shopping mall in the city center, a new prompt appeared on the blood-red bullet screen before my eyes. Warning: a small-scale robbery is about to occur at Jinwan Mall, 2 kilometers ahead. My heart tightened and I instinctively looked at Pei Jing. He seemed to have received the alert as well, suddenly slamming on the brakes. Almost at the same time, a scream came from the entrance of the mall ahead. A group of masked men armed with clubs began a frenzied rampage of smashing, looting, and grabbing. The crowd scattered in all directions, plunging the scene into chaos. Pei Jing's face turned pale as he pulled me into his arms, his voice trembling. Wei, did you see that? The bullet comments prophecy came true. Let's go home first. I leaned against him, clearly hearing his violent heartbeat. The chaotic scene and the terrified crowd were all overwhelming my senses. I wavered. When I got home, I was completely dazed and disoriented. Pei Jing thoughtfully poured me a cup of hot water, then went to take a shower, saying he wanted to wash away all the bad luck. I sat on the sofa, holding the cup in a daze. Mom, don't let it scare you. My daughter snorted. Those smashing things are extras from Hongdian World Studios, and the leader is called Li Ergo. In the WeChat transfer records of the scumbag father, there are transfers made yesterday, 500 yuan each, with the note temporary actor fee. This time I've slept enough and can clearly inform you. I picked up Pei Jing's jacket from the sofa and fished his phone out of the pocket while he was taking a shower. I quickly opened his WeChat. His chat history was spotless with nothing there. But when a woman is investigating, she becomes Sherlock Holmes. Payment records can't be deleted. I decisively opened the bill and scrolled up. At 5 yesterday afternoon, there was a transfer of 500 yuan, and the recipient's nickname was Professional Actor Brotherly Remark. Standard actor fee. Scrolling up further, there were several more transfers of the same amount. The evidence is conclusive. Click. A massive sense of betrayal and anger, like a tsunami, engulfed me. I bit my lip hard, not letting out a single sound, and silently put the phone back. My dear husband, not only did he try to cheat me out of my money, but he also teamed up with outsiders to put on such a big show to scare me. A pregnant woman. I lifted my head, staring at the blurry figure on the bathroom door, my gaze gradually turning cold. 10 years of love had finally gone sour. I never doubted the sincerity of his feelings when we were young, but people's hearts are prone to change. Pei Jing came out of the bathroom, saw the mess on the floor, and rushed over anxiously. Wei, what's wrong? Are you hurt? He lifted my hand and examined it carefully. I raised my head and gave him a pale smile. It's nothing. My hand slipped. Honey, I've made up my mind. Let's build the fortress. He smiled. Okay, I smiled, too. The baby in the belly cried. Mom, you love-struck fool. Am I really going to be reincarnated again? It took me centuries of cultivation to earn your rebirth. I touched my belly and thought to myself, don't be afraid, baby. This time, Mommy won't let anything happen to you. The next morning, at the breakfast table, Pei Jing pushed the equity transfer agreement in front of me again, his face full of urgency. Wei, have you made your decision? We really don't have much time. My mother-in-law, Wang Fun, chimed in from the side. Exactly. Sure way. At a time like this, money is just worldly possessions. Saving your life is what matters. Watching the two of them play off each other, a wave of nausea churned in my stomach. I picked up the agreement under Paging's expectant gaze. I tore it in half. Paging's face instantly changed. Songji Wei, what are you doing? He abruptly stood up, the anxiety and affection in his eyes vanishing, replaced by undisguised irritability. I threw the torn pieces of paper into the trash can. I thought it through. My shares are the legacy my mother left me. I can't touch them. Slap. Pei Jing smashed the milk glass in his hand, shattering it all over the floor. He pointed at me, trembling with rage. At a time like this, you're still hung up on that. Do you want to drag our whole family down with you? My mother-in-law chimed in, angrily pointing at my nose. Which people are just pretentious and selfish. When you die, what use is money? Can you eat it? I looked at their ugly faces and found it utterly ridiculous. I lowered my head, my shoulders trembling slightly, as if I had been scolded into tears. I wiped my hand across my eyes, though there were no tears at all, and said in a tearful voice, "Honey, don't be mad. I didn't mean it that way." Paging's expression softened a bit when he saw me backing down. He walked over, wanting to hug me. I dodged it just the right moment, lifting my reddened eyes to look at him. My shares can't be touched, but I can sell the gold bars we saved together, and also your sports car. All of that combined should be able to raise about 30 million. Paging frowned, clearly dissatisfied with that number. I didn't give him a chance to speak and continued. And besides, honey, don't you also want to protect our family? You can mortgage your company, too. I counted on my fingers for him. Your investment company must be worth at least 500 million. Right. If we mortgage it, we'll have enough money to build the fortress. Pei. Jing's expression froze on his face. He opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word for a long time. The company is my career. It cannot be touched, he said dryly. I sneered inwardly. What a ridiculous double standard. It's only natural for me to lose everything. But when it comes to his own possessions, he can't bear to part with them. Mom, don't even mention mortgaging. Dad's company is just a shell. My daughter's voice chimed in at just the right moment, dripping with contempt. Last month, he gambled heavily in Macau and lost a full 200 million. The company's accounts are already insolvent, and creditors are calling every day to demand payment. So, that's how it was. No wonder he was in such a hurry to swindle my money. I pretended to look concerned, lifted my head, and asked Pei Jing, "Honey, is the company doing well recently? I heard from a friend that the investment environment hasn't been great lately." Pei Jing immediately straightened his back, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "Great. How could it not be good?" He blustered. "Just last month, we paid dividends to the shareholders with a turnover of several hundred million." Lies. One lie after another. He had long squandered the company left by his grandfather, a perfect reincarnation of Li Ka-shing. He even used your corpse to stabilize the building after you died. I felt as if struck by lightning, yet I forced a smile and silently ate the steamed buns. That evening, I found a junior employee at Pei Jing's company and paid him to send me the company's actual financial statements for the past 6 months. The statements showed that the available funds on the company's books were less than 200,000. Moreover, the external liabilities amounted to as high as 130 million. I stared at the shocking report, my gaze icy cold. Pretend the apocalypse to deceive me, then I'll give you a real apocalypse in return. That evening, I said to Pei Jing, who was massaging me, however, for something as big as building a fortress, we need a professional to plan it. Right. First, find a reliable designer. Let's take a look at the plan, and then we'll talk about the money. Okay. Seeing that I had relented, Pei Jing's expression immediately brightened from gloom. All right, no problem. I've already found a top-tier designer who specializes in military-grade underground bunkers. I'll contact him right away. He excitedly picked up his phone and walked to the balcony to make the call. I watched his back, my gaze icy cold. The grand show had only just begun. Pei Jing moved quickly. The next day, he brought back a woman. The woman was very young, around 26 or 27 years old. Wei Wei, let me introduce you. Pei Jing warmly put his arm around my shoulder. This is Lin Man, the top underground fortress designer I hired for a hefty sum of 500,000. So, it was her, a woman's intuition. The moment she walked in, I felt nauseous. It was her, using a ridiculous barrage of lies in collusion with my husband, trying to push me into the abyss. Lin Man's gaze swept over me, finally landing on my slightly swollen belly. "Hello, Mrs. Pei," she said, extending her hand with nails painted bright red. "You don't look well. Is pregnancy making you too anxious? You should try to relax. Mom, this is the woman. She's the one my dad is having an affair with." I clenched my fists, but kept a smile on my face. I took Lin Man's hand. "Hello, Ms. Lin. You're truly accomplished at such a young age. I'll leave it to you from here." In the moment, the two women locked eyes. The air was thick with invisible gunpowder. Lin Man clearly didn't expect me to be so agreeable. She paused for a moment, then pulled a thick stack of blueprints from her bag. "Mrs. Pei, based on the structure of your villa, I've designed a plan." She spread the drawings out on the table, pointing here and there. "We can dig 3 levels underground in the backyard to create a perfect shelter that combines living, storage, and defense. The first phase of the project will cost about 80 million. 80 million. What an outrageous demand. I looked at Pei Jing, and he immediately signaled me with his eyes to agree. I let out a sigh, pretending to be troubled. "Ms. Lin, to be honest with you, the most liquid cash I can mobilize is only 30 million. Pei Jing's face instantly turned green. I ignored him and continued speaking to Lin Man. "As for the remaining 50 million, I'm afraid I'll have to trouble my husband." I turned to Pei Jing, smiling innocently and guilelessly. "Honey, go ahead and mortgage your company. For the sake of our child, you'd be willing to do that, right?" Pei Jing's expression was as unpleasant as if he had swallowed a fly. "Wei Wei, don't mess around." He lowered his voice. "The company's mortgage procedures are very complicated." "It's not complicated at all." I took out my phone and opened the information I had already looked up. "I've consulted a lawyer. For a wholly owned investment company like yours, as long as the legal representative signs, you can get the loan in as fast as 3 days." I pressed him step by step, backing him into a corner. Lin Man watched from the side, a look of irritation flickering in her eyes. They probably never expected that I, a weak and easily bullied pregnant woman, would become so difficult to deal with. Just as Pei Jing was caught in a dilemma, a savior arrived. My mother-in-law, Wang Fan, came out of the kitchen carrying a plate of fruit and happened to overhear our conversation. She slammed the fruit tray heavily onto the table. "Son, are you stupid? Such a good designer offers you a plan and you don't want it. Do you even want to live? Are you trying to make our whole family go outside and wait to die? It's just a lousy company, isn't it? What is it compared to your life? Sign it now. Sign it immediately." I laughed. It seemed my mother-in-law had no idea the apocalypse was her son's lie. Instead, she had become my ally. "Mom, actually," Pei Jing stopped the words on the tip of his tongue. Caught between two women, Pei Jing was backed into a corner. I pulled out the company asset mortgage loan application agreement I had prepared long ago. I looked at him and gently placed the pen into his hand. "Honey, just sign it for the sake of our family." Pei Jing's face was deathly pale, his forehead covered in cold sweat. In the end, he signed his name on the line for the legal representative. Pei Jing. 3 days later, the 50 million loan arrived. This money did not enter Pei Jing's personal account, but was deposited into a joint account opened in the names of both of us as a married couple. This was the result of my insistence. The reason was, with such a large sum of money, I wouldn't feel at ease leaving it all with you alone. Joint management by husband and wife is the safest way. Although Pei Jing was reluctant, under the banner of the apocalypse, he couldn't argue. I opened the online banking right in front of Pei Jing and Lin Man. This Swiss fortress security company is highly professional, offering private mercenary and weapon equipment services worldwide. I kept my cool while operating, casually making things up as I went along. I've already made the arrangements. First, pay a deposit of 30 million, and I'll send an elite team to protect us. With that, I swiftly transferred the 30 million. Pei Jing stared at the successful transfer notification on his phone, his eyes and mouth twitching uncontrollably. That expression was uglier than if he had peed on himself. I knew he was heartbroken, but he didn't dare to object and could only watch helplessly as his money slipped away. Mom, well done. Her daughter's voice was filled with schadenfreude. This so-called Swiss security company is actually your offshore trust fund registered in the Cayman Islands, isn't it? You're still the actual controller of the account. A perfect shell game. A slight smile curled at the corner of my mouth. That's right, this was only the first step. Next came the frantic end of world shopping spree. I dragged Pei Jing and Lin Man along, embarking on a buying frenzy. But I wasn't buying compressed biscuits or purified water. What I bought were the most expensive items in the luxury mall downtown. Songzaiwei, have you lost your mind? What are you buying 100 cases of Lafite for in a high-end wine shop? Lin Man shook her head as she watched me swipe my card to purchase 100 cases of 1982 Lafite. She looked at me as if I were insane. When the apocalypse comes, can you drink this stuff like water? I leisurely put away the receipt and gave her a faint glance. Of course it can. High concentration alcohol can be used to disinfect wounds, and if lit, it can provide warmth in a critical moment. A bottle of 1982 Lafite might just be enough to trade for 10 lives from someone else. I spoke with solid reasoning. Miss Lin, as a designer, it's normal for you not to know these survival skills. Don't talk nonsense. Lin Man was left speechless by my retort, her heavily made-up face flushing a deep shade of purple. I continued my shopping spree, buying all the value-preserving luxury items I usually couldn't bear to purchase. Pei Jing stood by, fuming, but afraid to speak up because every penny I spent was under the guise of preparing for the apocalypse. If he opposed it, it would be equivalent to overturning the lie he himself had fabricated. He also bought a trunk full of gold bars, reasoning that gold is a hard currency in a post-apocalyptic world. It's more useful than money. Each of these items was worth a fortune, and they all shared one thing in common. They held their value and were easy to liquidate. Pei Jing and Lin Man followed behind me, their expressions growing more and more twisted. They watched helplessly as the money in the joint account dwindled rapidly. At night, I lay in bed applying a face mask while listening to my daughter's live broadcast. Mom, that bad woman is tattling on Dad again. She said you're not actually preparing for the apocalypse. You're just taking the chance to spend recklessly and get back at him. She told Dad to hurry up and find a way to transfer the remaining money from the joint account. Or better yet, just freeze all your bank cards. My face, covered in a sheet mask, was expressionless. I glanced at Pei Jing, who was in the study, speaking in a hushed tone on the phone. Then, I picked up my phone and sent a message to my lawyer. You can proceed with the second plan. The villa's circuit breaker was pulled with a click. The entire world instantly plunged into darkness and dead silence. I sat up in bed, panicked. What's going on? Is there a power outage? Pei Jing held me tightly, his body trembling slightly. Don't be afraid. Wei Wei, I'm here. His voice sounded in my ear. Just then, a series of spine-chilling howls came from outside the window. It didn't sound like a human, nor like a wild beast, more like the scraping of fingernails against glass, sharp and piercing. It's coming. Pei Jing's voice trembled even more violently. What the bullet comment said is true. The zombies really are coming early. Then, he pulled a document and a flashlight out from the bedside table. Wei Wei, quick, sign this. He thrust the papers and a pen into my hands. This is the final authorization. Transfer all the funds and real estate under your name to me, so I can coordinate supplies and protect everyone. This was his last desperate move, taking advantage of this terrifying atmosphere. He wanted to gain ultimate control over all my assets. I looked at the swaying, ghostly shadows outside the window and listened to the piercing howls around me, pretending to tremble in fear, unable to utter a single word. Mom, stop smiling. The corners of your mouth are almost reaching your ears. I forced myself to suppress a laugh and took the pen with trembling hands. Under Paging's expectant and nervous gaze, I quickly signed my name on the document. By the dim light of the flashlight, however, from an angle he couldn't see, I quietly swapped the document I had just signed with another one I had pulled out from under my pillow. The agreement clearly stated the male party, Paging, voluntarily relinquishes all marital joint property and voluntarily assumes all joint debts incurred during the marriage, leaving with nothing. I made him sign it, too. He didn't suspect a thing. After signing, I collapsed weakly in Paging's arms. Husband, I've given you everything. My life, too. Paging looked at the signed authorization letter, trembling with excitement all over. He planted a heavy kiss on my forehead. Wei, don't worry. I will definitely protect you and the child. Early the next morning, before dawn had even broken, my mother-in-law, Wang Fun, along with my lazy and freeloading sister-in-law Pei Ling and her family of 6, moved into my villa in a grand procession. They were carrying large bags and small bags, as if they were on vacation. As soon as Wang Fun entered the door, she naturally assumed the role of the hostess. Oh, Jiwei, you've done a good job with the supplies, she said, surveying the goods I had piled up in the living room, her face showing undisguised greed. She pointed toward the basement. Come on, take us to see the fortress. Also, we need to split these things equally among everyone. In the apocalypse, there can't be any special treatment. My sister-in-law, Pei Ling, chimed in as well. Exactly, sister-in-law. Our family has 4 people, so we should get a bigger share. I looked at the ugly faces of these leeches in the family and sneered inwardly. I didn't say a word, just quietly walked to the center of the living room and clapped my hands. Everyone's eyes were fixed on me. I looked around, then slowly spoke, my voice not loud, but clear enough. Welcome to my doomsday shelter, but since it's the end of the world, there must be rules for the end of the world. I pointed to a blank sheet of paper on the wall, which I had written on last night. First, all supplies here will be distributed by me alone. No one is allowed to hoard anything privately. Second, if you want to eat, you have to work. From today on, the men are responsible for reinforcing doors and windows and patrolling on watch. The women are responsible for cooking and cleaning. I paused, my gaze falling on Wang Fan and my sister-in-law. Oh, by the way, the septic tank in the villa seems to be full, and the smell is a bit strong. Mom, Xiao Ling, this arduous task is yours. Clean it up and you'll get an extra ham sausage tonight. Wang Fan's face instantly darkened. Song Jiwei, what do you mean? You want me to go scoop manure? Her sister-in-law, are you crazy? How could I ever do something like that? I spread my hands, looking innocent. That's the law of the apocalypse. No work, no food. If you don't want to, you can leave the villa right now and go chat with the zombies outside. You, Wang Fan was trembling with rage, pointing at my nose, unable to speak. Pei Jing tried to smooth things over from the side. Wei, don't be like this. We're all family. I gave him a cold glance. Shut up. In this household, I call the shots now. If you have a problem with that, you can leave with them. Pei Jing immediately backed down. He was still counting on the authorization letter in my hands to transfer assets. So, naturally, he didn't dare to offend me. He still didn't tell the truth because he was afraid his relatives' acting skills weren't up to par. Wang Fun and her sister-in-law ultimately didn't dare to go outside. They grumbled and cursed, but in the end, they lacked the courage to step out. In the afternoon, the sister-in-law's son, craving a snack, sneaked into the pantry and opened a can of luncheon meat. Caught you red-handed. I enforced my doomsday rule in front of everyone. Given that you violated the rules and stole supplies, I declare that you are not allowed to eat today. My sister-in-law exploded. Song, Jiwei, you vicious woman. He's just a child. I let out a cold laugh and grabbed a fire axe from the toolbox beside me. I slammed the axe heavily onto the coffee table, and a crack instantly split the marble surface. Either get out and feed the zombies or shut up and follow my rules. The entire living room fell silent instantly. Wang Fuan and my sister-in-law stared at the gleaming axe in my hand and my icy gaze, too terrified to utter a single word. Pei Jing grew increasingly restless. He came to me, clutching the authorization letter I had signed, the one he had treasured like a precious gem. Wei Wei, we're running out of time. Hurry up and cooperate with me to transfer the money from overseas accounts. His tone carried a hint of impatient urging. And those funds and properties of yours. It's time to handle the paperwork. I watched his eager, impatient expression and found it amusing. I leisurely led him to the safe in the study. Honey, look, I entered the password and opened the safe door. It was completely empty inside. Pei Jing's eyes widened instantly. Where's the money? The gold bars. Those watches. I covered my mouth in panic. I exchanged them all for Bitcoin. What? Pei Jing's voice changed pitch. I took out a small USB drive from the hidden compartment of the safe and handed it to him. I've heard that after the apocalypse, the internet and banks will all collapse. Only decentralized digital currency is the safest. I pressed the USB drive into his hand as if handing over my last hope. Honey, this is the key. All my assets are in here. Now, it's yours. Pei Jing looked at the small USB drive in his hand, his eyes turning red. It wasn't greed. It was ecstasy. He thought he had obtained all my wealth. What he didn't know was that the USB drive contained only a 1 gigabyte parenting knowledge folder and a formatting program. Wei Wei, you're really my good wife. He hugged me excitedly, kissing my face randomly. Pei Jing, since the money has been converted into digital currency, please sign this International Digital Asset Transfer Agreement as well. This will make it easier for us to transfer the assets to a secure overseas server. Pei Jing was already completely carried away, without even looking. He signed his name with a flourish. What he signed was the final gift prepared by my lawyer. The declaration of bankruptcy liquidation of Pei's investment company and assumption of unlimited joint liability debt by the legal representative. The last night, everyone's face was etched with tension. The TV wasn't on, but they stared intently at the clock on the wall. Every tick of the second hand felt like a hammer striking their hearts. The blood-red barrage in front of me. The countdown was ticking away second by second. The moment the countdown reached 0, the blood-red barrage flickered once, then vanished completely outside the window. It was utterly silent. No groans of zombies, no chaotic screams, not even the barking of the neighbor's dog. The world was terrifyingly quiet. What's going on? My sister-in-law broke the silence. Where are the zombies? What about the promised apocalypse? Her child was scrolling through Douyin. It's pretty peaceful out there. Some people are even dancing. Pei Jing straightened his sleeves and said calmly, "Stop waiting. There is no apocalypse at all." My mother-in-law looked completely bewildered. "Son, what's going on here?" Lin Man walked out from the shadows right in front of me. She naturally wrapped her arms around Pei Jing's neck. "Sister-in-law, you're truly the most naive person I've ever met." Lin Man laughed so hard she was shaking all over. Even a dog, after being deceived so many times, should have learned its lesson by now. The old woman was stunned on the sidelines. She looked at Pei Jing, then at Lin Man, and the greed in her eyes was gradually replaced by ecstasy. "Son, what on earth is going on here?" Pei Jing embraced his mistress and kissed her. "Mom, this is what's called a high-dimensional asset. The so-called apocalypse was a show that Lin Man and I put on specifically for Wei Wei, Dan, and the car hijacking was all part of our designed experiment." He turned to look at me, his eyes devoid of any trace of the usual tenderness. Only a cold, contemptuous gaze remained. "Wei Wei, to be honest, I didn't expect you to be this stupid. 300 million in shares, tens of millions in deposits, and all those treasures you've hidden in your safe. And you just casually exchanged all of that for what's on this USB drive. Pei Jing picked up the USB drive and brought it to his lips, giving it a kiss. Do you know what this means? It means you have nothing now except me. My sister-in-law also understood. She slapped the sofa and burst into laughter, rocking back and forth. Sister-in-law, weren't you pretty cocky before? And you want me to scrub the toilet and clean out the septic tank? She suddenly stood up and strode over to me in a few steps. A wave of cheap perfume hit me. Now, that septic tank is yours. Go on, scoop out all the filth inside, bit by bit, if even one tail is missing. Don't even think about sleeping in this house tomorrow. The mother-in-law puffed out her chest, her tone sharp and sarcastic. Zaiwei, in life, you have to accept your fate now that you have no money. You're nothing but a useless person who can only bear children. If you behave and serve our whole family well, aging might still give you a meal. If you dare to make a scene, you can take that worthless thing in your belly and go beg on the streets. Pei Jing looked down at me from above. He pulled a cigarette out of his pocket and lit it amidst the swirling smoke. His face looked both blurred and despicable. Wei Wei, did you hear that? This is reality. But I'm someone who remembers old ties. As long as you do all the housework and cough up the last bit of spare change under your name, I'll take good care of you, like raising an obedient little dog. I lower my head, my shoulders trembling slightly. To an outsider, it looked like I was breaking down in tears, but I was actually holding back my laughter. I was shaking all over from holding it in. Mom, look at his smug, self-satisfied expression. My daughter's voice in my mind was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. He thought it was the key to Bitcoin, but it was actually a self-destruct program. As soon as he plugged it into the computer, the tens of millions in loan shark contracts would automatically be sent to all creditors. I took a deep breath, lifted my head, my face covered in tear stains. Honey, you can't do this to me. I still have your child in my belly. Pei Jing let out a disdainful snort, blowing out a smoke ring. Child, once the money is cleaned, what kind of child can't I have? He waved his hand as if shooing away a fly. All right, stop playing the victim here. Go scrub the toilet and make sure you polish off all the urine stains in the bowl. Pei Jing pulled Lin Man upstairs. His steps were light as if treading on clouds. Man from now on. This will be our castle. Lin Man giggled, pressing her entire body against him. Then I'll have to decorate it properly and replace all those rustic decorations. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law also trotted along behind, discussing which room had better lighting. I stood in the center of the living room, watching their revelry. It was like watching a group of clowns dancing beside a guillotine until the sound of a computer booting up came from upstairs. At that moment, my heartbeat quickened slightly. I knew it. The real show was about to begin. I slowly and calmly wiped the tears from my face. With an elegant motion, I sat down on the sofa and picked up a peeled grape. Pei Jing followed behind, his entire being as if his soul had been drained away. He clutched the USB drive tightly in his hand, veins bulging on the back of it. No, this isn't right. The password is wrong. Why has my account been locked? He rushed up to me, grabbed my collar, his eyes bloodshot. Song Jiwei, what did you put in this USB drive? Why did all the debt collector's messages come through the moment I connected to the network? His phone began to vibrate wildly. I lifted my eyelids and looked at him indifferently. Honey, what are you talking about? Didn't you say that when the apocalypse comes, money will be worthless paper? Since it's worthless paper, what difference does it make what it's exchanged for? Wei Wei, you still have money, don't you? I stood up and smoothed the wrinkles on my skirt. Honey, you forgot. Just now, Miss Lin said that those things are garbage and drinking them won't keep you alive. So, I've already had everything moved away just now, donated to the Red Cross to be used as a charitable tax deduction. Beijing choked on his breath and nearly fainted. I slowly walked down the stairs, holding the TV remote in my hand. I walked up to them and gently pressed the power button. Just said the apocalypse hasn't come. I'm kindly helping you out, I said, looking at them with a smile. End of the world. Isn't it here? The television screen lit up. A local news channel is broadcasting an urgent news report. The hostess' clear and articulate voice echoed throughout the living room. Breaking news from our station. Pay's Investment Company, a well-known local enterprise, has been placed under investigation for suspected large-scale contract fraud and illegal fundraising. Its legal representative, Beijing, is involved in a case amounting to 200 million yuan and has been listed as a wanted fugitive by the police. Citizens with relevant information are urged to come forward. On the news screen, Beijing's handsome ID photo appeared. Below the photo were two bold red characters. Wanted. Boom. Beijing's mind felt as if it had exploded. His legs gave way, and he collapsed to the ground. No, impossible. My company, my money, he murmured to himself. His eyes vacant, Man reacted much faster than he did. She shook off Beijing's hand as if avoiding the plague, leaping back a big step. At that very moment, woo-woo, outside the villa, the sound of police sirens growing closer from a distance pierced the silent night sky. The red and blue police lights flashed across the faces of everyone in the living room through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, especially on Pei Jing's face, which was as pale as paper. I walked up to him and looked down at him. Husband, your end has come. Sirens wailed in the courtyard. Red and blue lights illuminated the living room. The officer calmly presented an arrest warrant. Pei Jing, you are suspected of major contract fraud and money laundering. Please come with us. Lin Man wanted to run, too, but was stopped by another officer. Ms. Lin Man, regarding your use of illegal means to obtain others' retinal information and commit fraud. We also request your cooperation in the investigation. Watching them being handcuffed, I felt the air become much fresher. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law huddled in the corner, not daring to breathe a word. I looked at them and smiled slightly. By the way, who was it that said I should clean out the septic tank? Since you like that place so much, why don't you move in there right now? After all, Pei Jing might not be able to take care of you for the next 20 years. The court hearing was swift. The debt assumption agreement Pei Jing signed became the final straw that broke him. Not only did he lose all his assets, but he also had to bear an astronomical amount of debt. And I, under the lawyer's maneuvering, became the complete victim. The day Pei Jing was taken away, he looked at me through the glass window. He wanted to curse, but could no longer make a sound. I mouthed to him, goodbye, waste paper. Lin Man, as an accomplice, was also sentenced to 10 years. As for my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, without Pei Jing's support, they soon fought tooth and nail over the last bit of living expenses, finally evicted by the landlord. I ended up on the streets. I heard that my mother-in-law actually went to clean sewers for others later on. That was probably her favorite way to survive the apocalypse. Later, I gave birth to my precious daughter. Mother and daughter joined forces to establish our own company. After hearing this story, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. We look forward to hearing from you.